The bustling terminal was alive with festive cheer, families embracing, children pulling at luggage, and announcements echoing for boarding calls. I stood in queue with my spouse, daughter, and her parents, feeling a subtle thrill that always accompanied a journey. When we reached the desk, I slid my passport forward with a grin. The agent typed, furrowed her brow, and typed again. Then she looked up, her tone flat. "I'm sorry, sir, there's no reservation under your name." I blinked, stunned. "There must be an error, we booked as a group." Before the agent could reply, my wife's hand rested casually on the counter. Her voice was icy, cutting. "Of course there's no ticket. We only reserved for the family." Her mother snickered beside her. "Perhaps you can catch a budget bus and meet us later," she let out a derisive chuckle. "Oh, wait, you won't even know our destination." My daughter, bewildered, looked up at me. "Daddy," she murmured. But my wife just ushered her forward, flashing boarding passes for herself, our child, and her parents. I stood rooted, my own kin abandoning me. The agent's pitying gaze stung. "Sir," I managed a strained smile, retrieved my passport, and stepped aside. I didn't protest or beg. I simply walked off, phone already in hand. They thought they'd shamed me, thought they'd cast me aside. But what they didn't know was that hours later, their world would implode. Chapter 2. The orchestration asterisk. I exited the terminal not with defeat, but with resolve. The reality was, this trip was under my command, not theirs. I had funded the hotel, secured the car rentals, and organized the activities. Everything was in my name, my accounts, my control. I'd stayed silent when they smugly took charge of the flights. I let my wife strut about, acting as if she held all the cards while her mother cackled in support. They thought I'd be left stranded, groveling after them like a pauper. What they failed to grasp was that the moment their plane landed, their nightmare would commence. I secured a last-minute flight to the same destination, quietly a few hours later. I didn't need to share their plane. I needed them to believe I was gone, powerless, humiliated. As I waited at my gate, I opened my laptop and accessed the travel accounts. A few clicks, a few keystrokes, and everything began to shift. Hotel bookings. Voided, effective immediately. Rental cars. Erased, reservations nullified, excursion plans transferred to my name alone, and for good measure I added a note to the hotel system. If anyone under my wife's or her mother's name tried to check in, deny them. Flag it as fraud. By the time their flight touched down, they'd step into a vacation that no longer existed, and I'd be there waiting, not to argue or plead, but to witness their smug laughter morph into panic. Chapter 3, the vacation that never was. When their plane landed, my wife sent me a single emoji, an airplane with a smug grin as if she'd won a battle. I didn't respond. I was already settled into their hotel suite, sipping champagne on the balcony with the resort's finest view. My reservation stood firm, booked under my name. Theirs, canceled. As they dragged their luggage and laughter through the marble lobby, I watched from above. "Reservation for Anderson," my mother-in-law declared proudly. The clerk typed, frowned, and tried again. Then he shook his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am, your booking has been voided." Her face flushed. "What do you mean, voided? My son-in-law arranged this?" "Correct," the clerk replied evenly, "and he canceled it this morning. A fraud alert was attached to the account. We cannot rebook under this name." My wife's head snapped around, scanning the lobby for me. She didn't know I was 10 floors up, watching their chaos unfold like a private performance. They argued for 20 minutes to no avail. Every nearby hotel was fully booked. The holiday season had them packed. By dusk, their airport laughter had turned to squabbling. My mother-in-law's voice shrieked about incompetence. My wife snapped back, demanding a fix. And my daughter. She sat on her suitcase, confused, watching the family who'd promised her a dream vacation unravel. And me? I raised my glass, smiling. This was just the start. Chapter 4. The unraveling asterisk kicked out of the hotel lobby like unwanted guests. They tried to salvage their dignity. "Fine," my wife barked. "We'll get the car and find somewhere better." But at the rental desk, I was already ahead. "Reservation for Anderson," she said again. The clerk looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, that booking was canceled today and all other vehicles are taken. Holiday season." My mother-in-law slammed her hand on the counter. "This is absurd. Get the manager." The manager arrived and confirmed it. Reservation canceled by the account holder. That account holder, me. By now their perfect scheme was fraying, thread by thread. Luggage in tow, they trudged into the humid night, bickering endlessly. My daughter's small voice pierced their shouting. "Mom, where are we sleeping?" Silence. They had no answer. Meanwhile, I was ahead because the highlights of their trip, the excursions they'd boasted about back home, were now mine. Private yacht tour booked under my name, 5-star dining, mine, sunset helicopter ride, mine. Tomorrow, when they showed up to claim their spots, they'd be laughed away. I leaned back on my suite's balcony, watching fireworks light up the resort beach. For the first time in years, I felt something absent from my marriage: control. This wasn't vengeance for the airport stunt. This was justice for every sneer, every slight, every time they treated me as expendable. And the best part? It was only day 1. Chapter 5. Desperation asterisk. By day 2, their polish had worn off like cheap varnish. My wife's designer dress was creased. Her mother's pristine hair was a frizzy mess. They sat on their luggage in the muggy heat outside a tourist office, dialing every contact they knew. "Can you send cash?" I overheard my wife plead on a public phone. "Please, just enough for a room." He canceled everything. But the family they thought would rescue them, too ashamed to be tied to the scandal, word had spread online. Wealthy family stranded abroad after betraying their own son-in-law. Screenshots of their smug airport photos, now captioned with their downfall, were shared gleefully. By evening, they tried to bluff their way into a budget hotel. "Do you know who we are?" my mother-in-law snapped at the clerk. "Yes," he replied calmly, nodding at his screen. "You're the family who ditched their husband at the airport. It's gone viral. No rooms for you." Their faces paled to ash. Meanwhile, my daughter had called me from her mother's phone, whispering, "Dad, can I stay with you? I don't want to be here anymore." I told her where to meet me. Within an hour, she was in my suite, awestruck by the contrast. Room service trays, soft music, a cozy bed waiting. She clung to me, tears streaming. "I knew you wouldn't abandon me, Dad." That night, I tucked her in while her mother and grandmother slept outside a bus terminal, sweating in the humid dark. And in the morning, I smiled, because the real punishment was yet to come. This wasn't just about canceled hotels and cars. It was about proving that without their money and arrogance, they had nothing. Chapter 6. The final strike. The trip had eroded their pride like acid. But the final act would unfold at the same airport where it all began. When their vacation ended, they staggered back to the terminal, sunburned, exhausted, dragging tattered luggage, wearing the same clothes for days. My wife's costly sandals had broken, and she limped barefoot across the floor while her mother cursed at baggage staff. At the gate, the airline clerk scanned their passports, then frowned. "I'm sorry, there are no return tickets under your names." Their jaws dropped. "What do you mean, no tickets?" my mother-in-law shrieked. "We booked them." The clerk checked again, then showed the screen. The tickets were canceled by the primary account holder 2 days ago. I stepped out from the VIP lounge, rested, my daughter holding my hand. "Primary account holder," I said. "That's me." Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd of waiting passengers. Some recognized them from the viral posts about the airport betrayal. Now here they were, stranded again. My wife's face burned red. You can't do this to us," she screamed. "Oh, I already have," I replied coolly. "This is just the result of your actions. You wanted me out of the family trip. You got it, permanently." Security approached as the scene grew louder. My wife and her mother protested, but their credit cards had been flagged from failed attempts all week. No tickets, no funds, no fallback. Meanwhile, I boarded first class with my daughter, the staff treating us with quiet respect. As the doors closed, I caught their desperate faces pressed against the departure gate's glass, helpless, humiliated, and exposed for who they were. For once, the world wasn't laughing at me. It was laughing at them. Epilogue, the lasting fallout back home. The story didn't end at the airport. Clips of their public disgrace spread online like wildfire. Strangers shared them with captions like "Karma at 30,000 feet," and "This is what hubris gets you." For weeks, my ex-wife and her mother couldn't step outside without whispers trailing them. Friends who once fawned over their wealth vanished, unwilling to be linked to their shame. Invitations dried up. The elite social circles they'd flaunted were closed to them forever. My ex-wife filed for divorce, but with documented proof of abandonment, viral evidence of her cruelty, and witness testimonies. I won custody easily. The court awarded me the house and financial control, citing her pattern of reckless and negligent behavior. My daughter thrived in the aftermath. She no longer flinched at her grandmother's name or carried the quiet burden of shame in public. At school, she proudly told friends, "My dad fought for me." As for my ex-wife and her mother, they became cautionary talees, reduced to sharing a cramped apartment, squabbling over bills, their once glossy image shattered. The lesson: revenge isn't always about chaos and rage. Sometimes it's about restraint. letting people craft their own downfall with their arrogance and cruelty, then exposing their true selves to the world. They thought they'd erased me from the family portrait. Instead, they erased themselves. And the best part? I didn't just leave that airport a humiliated man. I left as a father who'd won everything that truly mattered. Was this justice perfectly deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Love the story. If you think this tale of justice hits the mark, share it with someone who needs this vibe and subscribe to Lauren's stories for more gripping tales of betrayal and retribution. Because here, every deception meets its reckoning and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay bold, and stay tuned.